My name's Molly Hayes, 32 years old, working as a product manager at a tech startup in a quiet American town. That afternoon, my parents and brother burst into my living room, their faces set like they'd practiced the confrontation. "I need the money tomorrow," my mother barked, shoving a pile of papers at me. $750,000. No delays. My father's voice followed, sharp enough to slice the air. My brother stared at the floor, pretending his latest failure, a restaurant gone under, wasn't his fault. They'd leaned on me for years, using my savings like their personal cash machine. But this time the number stung differently. $750,000 for another one of his disasters. I'd rescued them before. Tuition fees, wedding bills, even their mortgage. Not this time. I looked my mother in the eyes, then my father, and offered a small, steady smile. "Okay," I said, calm as glassy water. They nodded, thinking they'd won. 3 hours later, I was at the airport with one suitcase, my phone lighting up with their unanswered calls. When they came the next day expecting their money, they found only a locked door and a 5-word note waiting on my kitchen table. Their shouts echoed through the empty house, but I was already gone. If you were in my position, what would you have done? Walk away like I did? Or keep giving yourself up for your family? Tell me in the comments and share this video with someone who needs a reality check. I'd always been the fixer in the Hayes family. For years, I carried the weight of my parents' hopes and my brother's failures. My father, Donald Hayes, and my mother, Jane Hayes, owned a small-town furniture store. Oak tables, leather couches, the kind that middle-class families bought when they wanted something solid. It was their pride, their legacy, but also their downfall. They poured their souls into it, yet the books never balanced. Every late payment, every mistake, they turned to me. My savings, my bonuses, my life, all spent keeping their dream alive. T32. I earned a salary that made their eyes shine, working hard as a product manager at a rising tech startup. To them, I wasn't just their daughter. I was their safety net. My brother Adam, 3 years older, was the golden child who could never fail. Growing up, he had the bigger room, better gifts, louder applause. When I came home with straight A's, Mom would nod. "Good job, Molly." When Adam scraped by with a C, Dad would clap his back and call him a genius. Their hopes always rested on him, their only son, to carry the family name. Even when he stumbled, they dusted him off and gave him another chance. Me? I had to be perfect, dependable, strong, and silent. The favoritism wasn't hidden. I still remember turning 16 when Dad gave Adam our grandmother's necklace, a delicate silver chain with a sapphire pendant passed down through generations. It was meant for me, the one who worked weekends at the shop, not Adam, who skipped shifts to hang out with friends. "He's the oldest," Mom said firmly when I asked why. That necklace became a symbol of everything I wasn't. I wasn't their pride, their choice, their favorite. Adam wore it once and then tossed it in a drawer, forgotten like everything else they handed him. Adam's life was a carousel of grand ideas and bigger crashes. At 25, he opened a car wash with Dad's money. It closed in 6 months. At 28, he launched a boutique with a loan I co-signed because Mom begged me to. It collapsed within a year. Each time I was the one cleaning up, writing checks, making calls, saving them from ruin. They never asked if I could afford it. They assumed I could. My tech salary gave me comfort, but every dollar I handed over was a piece of my own future gone for good. I even paid for Adam's wedding to Lauren, the wife who loved designer handbags and beach selfies, vacations I unknowingly financed. The store wasn't any better. My father bragged about knowing every customer's name, yet couldn't read a balance sheet. My mother kept the books, her math powered more by faith than numbers. When suppliers called about overdue invoices, they'd look at me, voices soft, eyes pleading. "Molly, you're so good with money," Mom would say, turning a compliment into a burden. I refinanced their mortgage twice, covered their insurance, even bought them a new delivery van when the old one died. Each time they swore it was the last. Each time they lied that I wasn't naive. I saw the cycle. Adam's recklessness, their denial, their endless faith that one day he'd make it big, and I'd always be there to catch them when he didn't. But safety nets eventually tear. I'd built my career with long nights and hard work, loving the thrill of new product launches and the logic of clean code. But every raise, every bonus, every bit of progress, it already belonged to them before it reached my hands. The necklace haunted me most. I'd picture its blue glint beneath the store's harsh lights, a reminder that I was always second. Adam didn't deserve it, not because he was cruel, but because he never earned a thing. He took. They gave. And I paid. Years ago, I tried talking to them about the unfairness. Dad laughed, said I was overreacting. Mom told me family meant sacrifice. I swallowed my anger then, but it burned quietly inside me. By the time I turned 32, I was done. Done being their fixer, their bank, their backup plan. I'd poured hundreds of thousands into them. College bills, medical emergencies, business failures. I tracked it all in a private spreadsheet, not out of pettiness but proof. Proof I wasn't crazy. Proof I'd given more than anyone should. I never showed it to them. I didn't need to. I already knew the truth. They'd never stop asking. Adam's latest disaster was the breaking point. A restaurant, his big comeback, that left him $750,000 in debt. And once again they expected me to clean it up. Not a request, not a favor, a demand. As if my life, my savings, my dreams were theirs by right. That afternoon, when they filled my living room with desperation and guilt, I saw it all. The necklace, Adam's smirk, Mom's trembling voice, Dad's clenched jaw. A lifetime of their expectations closing in. I didn't know the exact moment I decided to stop, only that I had. Something inside me broke free. I wasn't their savior anymore. That evening my house felt like a cage. Dad stood by the door, arms crossed, eyes like stone. Mom sat on my couch clutching a pile of papers, Adam's latest debt. Adam leaned against the wall, blank-faced, avoiding my gaze. My pulse pounded, but I stayed calm. I'd spent years hiding my anger behind composure. I need the money tomorrow, Mom demanded, handing me the documents. $750,000. No delays. Dad added coldly, "You know what the store means to us." Adam stayed quiet, hands deep in his pockets, letting them speak for him. I bailed them out more times than I could count. Loans, bills, emergencies. But this time their demand hit differently. I took the papers, my grip steady despite the heat rising in my chest. "Adam's 35, I said sharply. "Why am I always fixing his messes?" Dad's jaw locked. "This isn't about blame, Molly. It's about family. You have the means." Mom's eyes filled with tears, her usual weapon. "If we don't pay the investors, we'll lose everything. The business, the house, our name." She reached for my arm. I pulled away. "What about Adam's car? His house? Why is it always my responsibility?" I snapped, turning to my brother. My words sliced through the silence. "You made the promises, Adam. You fixed them. See, you signed the papers, Adam. When do you ever take responsibility for your own mistakes?" Adam's head snapped up, his face flushed red. "I'm not the villain here, Molly," he muttered, his voice bristling with defense. "I took a risk. You wouldn't understand." A dry, bitter laugh escaped me, echoing through the room. "Understand? Oh, I understand plenty. I understand paying for your failed car wash, your boutique that tanked, and now this mess. When do you plan to grow up?" Dad stepped forward, voice raised, the command in it unmistakable. "That's enough. You don't talk to your brother like that. We're family. You've got the big job, the good salary, you can handle this." I stared at him, anger rising until my voice shook. "Handle it? I've handled everything. Your mortgage, your insurance, Adam's wedding. I've given up my savings, my future. When does it stop?" Mom's tears spilled as she clutched my hand. "Molly, please," she whispered. "We're begging you, for your brother, for us." Her words were a noose of guilt, pulling tight around the part of me conditioned to give in. But I saw it then, Adam's downcast eyes, Dad's clenched jaw, Mom's practiced tears. They weren't pleading. They were demanding. I thought of the secret spreadsheet hidden on my laptop, the one where I'd tracked every dollar I'd poured into them. College debts, hospital bills, the store's overdue accounts. It wasn't just money I'd given away. It was years of my time, my dreams, my freedom. They'd treated my career, my late nights, my promotions like their entitlement. Adam's latest big idea was just one more weight they expected me to carry. His wife, Lauren, was probably scrolling through her phone, posting pictures of her perfect, expensive life. All funded by my sacrifices. Dad's tone softened suddenly, the way it always did before another manipulation. "Molly, we raised you. We gave you everything. Now we need you." Mom nodded quickly, voice trembling like a prayer. You're our only hope. Without you, we'll lose everything. Their words pressed down like a cage made of guilt and duty. I wanted to scream that I'd given enough, that I wasn't their safety net anymore. But their faces told me the truth. Dad's cold glare, Mom's trembling mouth, Adam's silence. They would never stop asking that. I took a deep breath, my hands finally steady. You're right, I said, my tone calm and cutting. I smiled just enough to unsettle them. Okay. Mom exhaled, shoulders dropping in relief. Dad nodded, already assuming victory. Adam lifted his eyes, hope flickering there. They all thought I'd caved again. But they didn't know what I knew. I was finished being their answer. My okay was a lie. They left my house confident I'd come through by morning. I stood in the quiet that followed, the air thick and heavy. I'd given them my answer, it just wasn't the one they thought. I couldn't keep living my life for theirs. Not for Adam. Not for their store. Not anymore. By midnight, my hands shook as I made the call, but my voice was steady. Zoe Carter, my best friend and coworker, picked up on the second ring. Molly, it's late. What's wrong? She asked, worry sharpening her tone. I paced the kitchen, the stack of papers from Mom still on the counter. Their voices echoed in my head. I'm done, Zoe, I said flatly. They want me to pay for Adam's debt again. I'm not doing it. I need your help. Zoe didn't hesitate. Tell me what you need. That was Zoe, calm, practical, always ready to act. We'd worked side by side for years, her in finance, me in product management, and I trusted her more than anyone. I laid out my plan. First, I had to protect my money. My savings, investments, everything I'd earned through years of long nights and hard-won promotions. I couldn't risk leaving a single door open for them to reach through. I'd been careless before, letting my parents stay on my accounts for convenience. Never again. Can you help me move everything to a new account? I asked. Zoe's voice was firm. Give me an hour. I'll call someone I know at the bank. She worked quickly, pulling favors, setting up a new account that only I could access. By 1 a.m., she had a banker on the line walking me through the transfers. My savings, my 401k, my emergency fund, every cent was moved safely out of reach. Next, it was time to cut every tie. Over the years, I'd let my parents and Adam stay on as co-signers for accounts, loans, even the store's credit line. It had been guilt, not logic, that made me say yes. Not anymore. I opened my laptop and started logging into each shared account. The joint checking Dad used for his emergencies. The credit card Mom had for the store, but used for Adam's wedding. The loan I'd co-signed for their new delivery van. One by one, I revoked access, removed names, and changed every password. Zoe stayed on the phone, guiding me through each step. You're doing the right thing, she said gently when I hesitated. My finger hovered over the final confirmation button. Clicked it. The last connection between us disappeared. Then came the hardest part. I needed to leave them a message, something short, final, undeniable. I pulled out a sheet of paper and a pen from the drawer. My hand trembled, but the words came easily. Family doesn't mean endless debt. 5 words. Sharp, simple, true. Everything I'd never said aloud. I folded the note neatly and left it on the kitchen table where they'd find it in the morning. It wasn't cruel. It was honest. I wasn't their lifeline anymore. Zoe wasn't done. You need to make this airtight, she said, switching to her no-nonsense tone. She patched in a lawyer she trusted, a woman named Rachel who worked fast. By 2 a.m., we were on a 3-way call. I explained everything. Adam's debt, my parents' pressure, my choice to walk away. Rachel didn't waste words. They can't legally touch you, she said. You never signed any agreement to take responsibility for his debt. She drafted documents revoking any lingering power of attorney and other financial permissions my parents still held. Sign these tonight, she said. This will protect you if they try anything. Zoe forwarded the forms to my email. I signed each one electronically, my fingers steady, my heart light. For the first time in years, I packed a single suitcase. Just clothes, my laptop, a few essentials. I didn't need much where I was headed. My plan was simple. Leave before they could stop me. I booked a flight to Burlington, Vermont, a place I'd always dreamed of, far enough to finally breathe. Zoe stayed on the line while I worked, her voice steady and sure. You're not running, she said softly. You're choosing yourself. Her words hit deep, slicing through the guilt that still lingered. I thought of Dad's stern face, Mom's tears, Adam's silence. They'd all made their choices. Now it was time to make mine. By 4 in the morning, everything was done. My money was safe. Adam's face reddened, his hands curling into fists. My failures? You two have leaned on her just as much. The store's been losing money for years, and you never stopped expecting her to fix it. The room exploded. Voices clashed, accusations flying faster than reason. Donald jabbed a finger toward Jane, blaming her softness for their troubles. Jane snapped back, throwing Adam's recklessness in his face. Adam fired back, his words raw, accusing them of favoritism and blind devotion. The chaos built until the doorbell rang. A sharp, unexpected sound that sliced through the shouting. Donald went still, the fury on his face fading into unease. Jane wiped at her eyes, her hands trembling as she rose from the couch. Adam turned and pulled the door open. Standing there was Mr. Kessler, a creditor with a hard expression and a briefcase that practically hummed with bad news. "Mr. Hayes," Kessler said coolly, stepping inside without invitation. "We need to discuss your son's restaurant. Payment is due, immediately." His tone was businesslike, but the weight behind it filled the room like thunder. Donald's shoulders sagged, his anger deflating into dread. "We thought Molly would," he began, then stopped, his eyes falling to the crumpled note on the table. A reminder of her final words. Kessler's brow lifted, unimpressed. "Molly's gone. I'm not here for explanations. I need the money or we seize the store." Jane gasped, her hand clutching at her chest. "The store? You can't do that." Kessler's stare hardened. "You signed the agreements. The restaurant loan was secured against your business. No payment, no store," Kessler declared flatly. Adam stepped forward, desperation lacing his tone. "We just need more time. Molly was supposed to." Kessler cut him short. "Molly's gone. You're out of time." He opened his briefcase and spread the papers across the table, the black ink stark against the white pages. The furniture store, their pride, their legacy, had been listed as collateral for Adam's failed restaurant. Without Molly's help, everything was lost. Donald stared down at the documents, his face drained of color. "This is all we have," he murmured. Jane turned on Adam, fury blazing in her eyes. "You did this. You and your reckless dreams. Why didn't you stop him?" Adam's voice cracked. "I thought we were a family. I thought she'd always be there." His words hung in the air, heavy and bitter, echoing the note Molly had left behind. Kessler tapped his watch impatiently. "You have 1 week to pay up, or we start liquidation." Then he left, the door slamming shut behind him. Silence swallowed the room. Donald sank into a chair, his hands trembling. Jane stared at the note on the table, her tears splashing onto its surface. Adam leaned against the wall, his face buried in his hands. They had built their lives on Molly's sacrifices, believing she would never walk away. Now that she had, everything was crumbling, the store, their home, their future. They blamed one another, but the truth was written in Molly's 5 words. Family doesn't mean endless debt. A week later, their world fell apart. My phone buzzed, Adam's name lighting up the screen. His message was desperate, the kind I'd seen too many times before. "Please, Molly, we're drowning. Help us." I stared at it, remembering his silence the night my parents demanded I fix his mess. Then I deleted the message. My new apartment in Burlington was small but entirely mine, free of their weight. Dad's number flashed with voicemails I never played. Mom's emails flooded my inbox, begging me to call, to come home, to save them. I marked them as spam and blocked their numbers. Zoe had warned me this would happen, that they'd try to pull me back, and she was right. My family didn't know how to exist without me, but I was finished being their lifeline. Across town, Lauren was creating her own noise. Zoe told me about her latest post, an elegant dinner photo captioned about resilience and new beginnings. She was always good at pretending their life was perfect, even when I was paying for it. But the internet wasn't fooled. Comments piled in. People questioning their sudden wealth while their store collapsed. Lauren deleted the post, but the damage was done. Zoe later sent me a newspaper clipping. Hayes Furniture declares bankruptcy. The store, Dad's pride and Mom's legacy, was gone. Empty windows, dark shelves, Everything they built on my sacrifices erased. Adam faced lawsuits, creditors demanding payment he could no longer avoid. His name, once tied to ambition, was now a whisper of failure. I didn't hate him. I just couldn't save him anymore. I sat in my apartment, sunlight glinting off my grandmother's sapphire necklace on the table. It reminded me of what I'd reclaimed. Myself. Burlington had become home. My days were full of work, peace, and the quiet freedom of answering to no one. My family's voices grew distant, their pleas fading into silence. I wasn't hiding. I was living. 6 months later, I was free. I'd built a life as a freelance consultant, helping startups that valued my mind, not my wallet. I taught a class on finance and boundaries, sharing what took me years to learn. Love isn't debt, and family doesn't mean sacrifice without end. Back in Burlington, the Hayes name was gone. My parents had sold their house. Adam faced court rulings and public shame. And me, I finally had peace. This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who's ever been drained by obligation and found the courage to walk away. Setting boundaries isn't betrayal. It's survival.